welcome back to the channel. Today I've come to a place at Bolton Abbey, so you see the distance there, and killing two birds with one stone. I'm doing a workshop for somebody, and also I'm going to use my my Holga camera and pinhole camera. I'm not really made my mind up which one to use, but I think I might be using the Holga, and just to control the Holga, control the shutter speeds using ND filters. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that when I get down there and find something to photograph. It's a lovely quiet morning here, peaceful in the Wharfdale Valley. So we'll head on down the windy path. To the Abbey. That's the problem with the Holga, is when you're using it, you've got one aperture, usually one shutter speed, but by using ND filters, if you can get the shutter speeds into split seconds, then you can control it. I've got a series of ND filters. I think I've got a 3-stop, 6-stop and a 10-stop, so that'll get me into the split seconds. So see how we go on. Right, I think I've seen the first shot, and that's the main front of the Abbey against the cloud, and the sun's just going in and out behind the clouds. What I want to do is use a longer exposure to blur that cloud. So I'm going to set the old Holga up, you can see it down there, and put an ND filter on and see what exposure I can come up with. So I've just taken a light reading, and it's giving me 250th of a second at f9.5, which is okay because it's between the f8 and f11 on this Holga. Now I've got to go down because I'm using a 10-stop ND filter to bring the times down so I can control them. So if I go down 10 stops, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It brings me to 4 seconds, and then 4 seconds on the reciprocity timer app. I'll just show you. Go into the phone. 4 seconds gives me 8 seconds exposure, if you can see that. So I'll set that exposure now. Get my timer, check everything's alright on the camera. Just need a little bit more light, so I'm waiting for that now, for the sun just to peek its head through again. And then take the exposure. I've just moved my camera back a little bit to get more of the actual Abbey in itself. So that's the actual setup. The cheap plastic Holga. Now, Mr. Holga, I'm in control. At least I think so. Just waiting for this sun to pop its head through the clouds. Right, got that shot. I don't know if you can see through viewfinder on this. It's not really good in this. No, you can't really. Anyway, the exposure was come a little bit brighter, so exposure was 6 seconds at round about f9.5. That's what I worked the exposure out. As I say, it's difficult with Holga because we're not sure exactly what the apertures are on this camera. It does state on their information that it's the brightest one's f8 and the smaller aperture is f11. So I thought if I work between the two, I might get some sort of exposure. Anyway, you've got to try these things, as I always say. Right, move on to the next picture now. Right, this is the first picture I took. As I say, it was a ND10 filter, exposure was 6 seconds at around f 9.5, and it produced a decent exposure. Now, my thought pattern for taking this picture was twofold. One is that I like to shoot into the light, and we get this separation of the elements within the picture. And as you can see here, I waited till the sun was partially shrouded by cloud, otherwise it would have flared the Holga lens. And I just think it creates a more dynamic picture, a more nostalgic type of picture. And the other reason is just to come up with something different. I've been many times with different cameras to Bolton Abbey and taken pictures, but never with the Holga. And you know, there's thousands of pictures taken every year of this place. I just wanted to come up with something different. And I think the Holga's done quite a good job, and it's created this, as I say, nostalgic old look to the picture. I would have liked a little bit more in the foreground, but the Holga viewfinder isn't that accurate. If I'd have moved back more to get more in, the structure on the right hand side would have gone out of the frame, and I was frightened with the viewfinder not being that accurate that I would have lost the sun in the picture. I wanted that point light source in the photograph, so you know, you can't win them all, but as I say, I think it's turned out okay. Right, I'm after the shape of this window and the structure going up. It looks a bit like a chimney, I'm not sure. I'm just seeing how, you know, the Holga's going to perform shooting into the light, so that, as again, the sun's partially shielded by cloud, and the exposure is the same as the last one, 6 seconds, 6 to 7 seconds, and that's with the ND10 filter on the Holga. And I'll take that picture now and see if it turns out. So here we go. Right, that's that exposure. See if that turns out. What caught my eye about this picture was the actual contrast, the dark stonework against the bright sky, and I also like the shape of the windows. Sometimes, you know, photographing just part of a structure rather than the whole of it can create more dramatic shots. So I took the exposure again. It was the same as the previous one, round about 6-7 seconds, and the aperture again round about f9.5, and I think again the Holga's done a very good job. It's created a different look to an otherwise normal looking scene. So I'm going to take this picture from this angle. I just need a little bit more break in the cloud. because it's going to be a 4-second exposure, so I'll get a little bit of movement in the cloud, and hopefully these branches won't be moving too much, although I don't mind if they do. That's the Holga all set up. ND10 filter. So as I say, I'm taking control of the shutter speeds. I would have liked a longer shutter speed on this, but I can't. I have no strong ND filters in it, ND10, so I'll just have to go with that. So it's getting a little bit busier now. So we're going over the stepping stones there. Just wait for a little bit more light. Just crossing the bridge now over the river wharf, and I saw this water on the river wharf itself going over these rocks. Now normally we take photographs of water flowing towards us, and I thought this might make an interesting shot of the water going away using the longest exposure. So again, on the Holga I've got the ND10 filter, and the light's pretty constant at the moment, and the exposure was at 6 seconds, so we'll see how that turns out. I'm really glad that I decided to take this picture. Talk about turning water to wine. I think I've turned this water, or the angle that the Holga's captured it, has turned it into more like something's on fire. So, you know, sometimes it just pays to try things and you come up with something different. I really do like this image, and I'm glad that I actually captured it. Starting to cloud over a bit now, but I'm not bothered. You take what you get. We're approaching now the Cavendish cafe. It's not, you can't go inside now, but you can take orders outside. It's about a mile, is it, from Bolton Abbey. It's a lovely little walk aside of the river. So we're just going to go there now and have a drink. This old footbridge going across the river wharf. I reckon when we had those heavy rains, I bet this river flooded this path. Oh, it wouldn't have been far off it. Comes up really, really quick.
River down there, Martin, as well. World's most dangerous river down
the Strid.
Yeah.
I once went there. I don't know if I walked for me, I walked miles to photograph it. When I got there I couldn't see it. We're covered in water. So the welcoming cafe. Do you think they'll do Yorkshire tea here?
I hope so.
Beautiful area. So we got the coffees, found a spare bench, and sat down, and while eating my pork pie I talked to David, who I was doing the workshop with, about all things photography. And David kindly took this picture with his Leica M6. He developed the colour negative himself, and I think it's made a really wonderful portrait. Well, I would say that, wouldn't I? And from there, we made our way back to the Abbey just to see if we can see any more pictures from that angle. Right, we're just approaching the Abbey from the cafe. Had us food and full up. That's a lovely view of the Abbey from here, although the light's a bit flat. And now we're just travelling up this path, winding its way up, and we should get a nice view there. The light's gone a little bit, but the old current bun, as I say, down south, is poking its head through here and there. So we'll just see how we go. Found a nice composition just to add some foreground interest to this water. I'm still going to use the 10 stopper, and we've got the Abbey in the background, and we'll get this nice flow in the water, so that's the idea. So I'll get the camera set up. Right, I've got the camera set up. The light's just turning now, hopefully, and it's going to be a 5-second exposure. Right, that's done. Hopefully that'll turn out. The light's a bit more light, but the clouds quite thick coming, so I could be hanging around here for hours. I don't want to do that, so that'll do me. Move on to the next shot. You know, sometimes it's not always fully apparent why you actually take a given picture, and it's not until you see the actual picture on screen or in print that you do realise then why you did take the picture. Now for me, this picture sums up the area, it gives scale. Although we've got the Abbey that's in the distance and small, it just adds scale. And we've got the sky, the big sky, we've got the tiny Abbey, then we've got the banking leading to the river wharf, and then the pebbles in the foreground. And I just think it works really, really well. I'm glad I took this picture, and for me it's my favourite image so far. Right, we've come full circle from the cafe at Cavendish back to the Abbey. The light's not right brilliant at the moment, so I'm just going to walk on up to the village and see if there's anything there. Otherwise I'll have to call it a draw with the Holga. But I've enjoyed the walk, enjoyed the company, and hopefully some of the pictures will turn out. Just see if there's anything to take in the actual village itself. Looks like spring has arrived. I think tomorrow, 21st of March, is that the first day of spring? I'm not sure, I think it is. Right, I'm just taking the big stopper off the Holga because I wanted to take this picture of this path, sort of this angle, the path steps on the bottom right and the path leading to the top left corner, and just see how that turns out. So I think we're going to make our way now back to the car, and but there's some steps around the tree or something like that. We'll just see what that is. Right, I'm just going to take a photograph of this old building with a doorway. What caught my eye was the slate path running down the centre, and then we've got the cobbles at each side. Then we've got these uniform trees left and right, and I just think it makes for a very interesting shot. So I'm just going to use the Holga without the ND filter on for this, and hopefully it should turn out because the light's not too bad now. I can sort of pre-visualise this with the edges going dark and keeping that the path slightly lighter to that white door. I think it'll look quite good, this. I do like the timeless look of this picture. I did have one problem though. If you see above the doorway, you can see where I've slightly had to darken the image down, and for some reason I got a light leak in the Holga, so that spoiled it a little bit for me, but I still think it makes a nice nostalgic picture. So this is the final shot of the day. It's this old bench, but I love the weathered wood on it, and it's got these small cobbles that it sits on, and I just quite like that. So I'm going to take this picture with the Holga. There's no ND filter, just a straight shot. The first thing I saw when I looked through the viewfinder was texture and shape in this picture, and I think again it's turned out very well, and the Holga with the blurring at the edges just draws your eye into the centre. Right, that's the end of the video. It's not a very long video, but hopefully it's showing you how you can take control of the Holga by getting it into split seconds, and you control the exposure time. And then the last shots I used it without the ND filter on. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like. Better still, subscribe to my channel, and as I always say, stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next video.